All right. Hello and good evening to everyone. Welcome to Dragon Forge After Dark. Um, this is Kesh once again without his webcam. Uh, Joining us today will be our special guest John and Louie. Hello, hello,
Hello.
Lulu.
Hey,
Hello,
hey.
John. Okay, so today we will be discussing War Machine and Hordes,
Woo!
but mostly War Machine. Can we go
Warmachine.
to the next slide, por favor?
Por favor. Coming up. Here you go.
Excelente. So, yeah, today we'll be talking about the War Machine primer. Supposed to be the Warma Hordes primer, but everything was just so long that we
Yo.
decided to make it a good trilogy and split it into two.
Wait,
So, yeah, that's how math works.
just like the
And
Hobbit, right?
yep,
Yes.
yes, yes. So, anyway, so we're doing the War Machine primer. With us today are our War Machine War Hordes experts,
Huh?
John and Louis.
Experts.
Yeah. Well, fine. War Machine and Horde simps, John and Louis. um so as to why I have no picture, can we go to next slide, oh please? Yeah. Uh wait, where is the
Right.
slide I put
You
in?
made me download the file. I guess it just did an update with the slide you put
Oh,
in.
lol. Okay.
Is this explaining
Anyway,
why you're
so
sick?
I'm sorry guys, but I'm sick this week because of the Moderna booster, and it really destroyed me for like the past few days, and the stock run today did not help. So I will be leaving it in the very capable hands of John and Lulu, but I will return once again later to judge the living and the dead and to like end the stream and like talk about some announcements. So Lulu just messaged
No,
me on the
we got
Facebook.
this on the Facebook.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. Since you cannot end the stream without me.
Oh, you can just leave it on and, have this beautiful
We can,
view of me
we
and
can hear
John.
the sounds of Kesh.
It will automatically cut off at 5 hours. So
Okay.
yeah.
So so if you
So it'll be like 3 hours of dead time. So let's not do that. Anyway, so you
But
guys
as
are
way of
in.
explanation, if that does happen, that means Kesh is dead. So,
wow.
just so
Yes.
you know, though.
Well, Mikey and DR could do it naman. It means all three of us are dead.
Okay,
Wow.
there you go.
Yeah.
Pretty dark. My
Yeah.
bad, but
Indeed.
it is what it is. That's the only way that's gonna happen. So
So as a last resort, I believe I forgot to log out the StreamYard from Vian's laptop.
Mhm.
So like
Vian's my last resort.
But Vian's already dead. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's a shame.
Yes. But he can do it from like the dead. So that's not a problem. Anyway, I'll leave all of you viewers in very capable hands
All of our
as I
how many
rest.
viewers? All of
Our
our
four viewers.
four viewers.
Woo!
Hi
Love you.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Yep. Thank you for showing up. Uh,
yes.
remember we're not experts.
Yes. Because
All right,
I'm
Kesh. Thank you. Pagaling ka.
indeed
Yes.
And
the boss and
me and
Kesh.
John
Mhm.
will take care of this.
I'll be back later. Please don't do anything I wouldn't do.
All right.
Mm,
All right. Ciao guys. See
okay.
you in a bit.
Bye, Kesh.
So
All right.
Louis, what's up?
We're
So
All
I
right, John. How do you want to do this? You want to hop straight into your very lengthy and detailed presentation here?
I guess so.
All right.
So
So we're trying to explain to people what War Machine and Hordes is, right?
yeah,
Actually,
so mm,
go ahead. You can hit us with this slide, and we'll see what the stream. I guess we're gonna say, viewers, if you feel like this is something everybody in the stream knows already, like it's too basic, you can just drop that in
yes.
the comments and we'll move to the next slide. But
Mm,
if nobody says anything, I'll give John his airtime.
yeah.
All right,
Well,
John, take it away.
so what's War Machine Hordes? It is a tabletop game in the world of Imran, where It's a fantasy world, but they've developed some technology, specifically something along the lines of steampunk mixed with magic. So they've got these arcantric engines, which sort of power machines and everything. And um, the most unique of which are the warjacks, which you can see there on the right. Um,
All right.
the so the biggest difference, one of the main differences in Warma Hordes compared to other tabletop army games is it's besides the normal option of uh, control points, we have the
Scoring,
option
right? Scoring.
of scoring. Yes,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
the option of assassination by killing the enemy leader.
Okay.
So there are leaders that are geared towards control. There are leaders that are geared towards assassination.
And there's
Um,
only one. There's only. Is there a format where there's more than one
there
assassination?
is actually,
Okay,
so
okay,
there's the basic format has only one
okay.
warcaster or
No
warlock.
matter how many figures you've got on the table, there's only one warcaster or warlock.
Yes,
All right.
but at higher pointages, you can actually have more than one,
Okay.
which makes for rather insane games. So one of the other conventions of the game is uh, unlike say 40k or Age of Sigmar, the turns don't go in phases. First player will take his entire turn, in which he will move, attack, perform any other actions, then move to his next group of models, move, attack, until all of his models are
Yeah,
done.
it's not like 40k or GW where it's move, everybody moves,
Yeah,
and then you go back the same unit. This one, then the single uh, unit or model or group of models does their entire thing, right? Everything
yep,
they can do for that turn, right? All right.
exactly. Uh, and next slide,
Oh, the
please.
turns don't change order, right?
Yeah. The turns never change order. You
Right. So if somebody gets the
take turns
initiative,
back and forth.
the turn order is static for the rest of the game.
Yes.
All right. Unlike Age of Sigmar, I don't know if the and this is me being a bad hobby shop owner, but does 40k have swapping turns already? Did they add that nonsense already? I'm not
I have
actually sure if the
not
latest
played
edition.
40k yet. I just
Chat,
got
tell me,
models
tell
from the
me.
lovely Dragon Forge,
Thank
and
you so much. What did you get?
a lot over the past few months.
It's pandemic, man. It's pandemic hoarding.
Yep.
But yeah, if anybody plays 40k in the chat, do school me. Does 40k do swapping turns every round? But anyway, shall I have it on to the next slide, John?
Yes, please, Louis.
All right.
Okay,
So
so
what's the
War
difference?
Machine. We're actually going to be focusing more on War Machine today. Then we'll do Hordes at another point. But we're going to give you a basic um, contrast of the difference between the two. So in War Machine, the factions are the more technologically advanced nations. The armies are led by one or more warcasters who are basically, think of a battle mage. They can fight in melee or range. Then they can also cast spells. They control these. If you can see these larger folk, the robots, those are called warjacks. They are basically big, strong, semi-dumb robots. But the thing is, if a warcaster channels his power into the warjack, it makes them much more effective. Next slide, please. So this is an introduction to the warcasters, and one of the warcasters at least. So this is Captain Alistair Kane. He's one of the most famous warcasters of Signar. So if you can see
So
the
Signar's
large,
a faction, right? Signar's a faction.
yes,
All right.
it is one of the main factions, and we will be dipping a bit into them to give their flavor and their playstyle later on.
All right.
So with a warcaster, you see that large prominent number. That is their focus. So the focus is the amount of focus points, or think of it as mana, that the Warcaster generates each turn. You can't have focus points over your base focus. So, for example, if you only spend, let's say, 2 focus this turn, at the start of your next turn, you'll only go back up to 6. You won't generate 6 and go to 8. Sorry, go to spend 2. 10, go
Six,
to 10.
10,
My math is
10.
bad. I am not
Yeah.
good at math.
Don't worry, it's not a math stream, so you're fine.
So focus is used to cast spells, as like I said, as mana. So for example, if Kane has a spell that is cost 2, he will spend 2 focus, go down to 4 to spend it. He can also allocate that focus to his warjacks, uh, so that they'll have more resources to spend later, which we'll go into. Then they can also spend focus on their own to buy additional attacks or to boost their attack or damage rolls, which is basically an additional die on their attack or damage. Then, when attacked, a Warcaster can actually also spend 1 focus to prevent 5 damage.
Right. So this is sort of kind of like, but not really, almost like command points in either the Warhammer games where, well, it's extra dice. It's not a reroll, right? And you have to
Yes.
decide before you roll. You
Yes.
don't get to see the result before you decide to commit the resource. Slightly different, but also somewhat the same.
By default, yes, but there are
There are
some.
certain, yeah, but by default it's
Yeah.
before you roll, right? Uh,
Yes.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're heavily the way you're painted in Warcaster, in War Machine, sorry, in Hordes, you might actually, it feels more like I'm the Warcaster in the battle group, as opposed to, let's say, when you're playing War Machine, sorry, Warhammer, where your generals separate from your army.
Yes.
Because the focus allocation is like centralized, there's only one Warcaster doing it. It kind of feels
Mhm.
like it's you,
Very much so.
thematically, compared to, let's say, organizing this army of your people you're indifferent to. It
Mhm.
also ties in really well with the fact that when the caster dies, it's game over for you.
Yep.
So it's like he's your perspective into the world, and he's really you. It's like your character, talaga.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I
very different.
actually, when I tell people about the game, I actually say it's a bit like chess. In this case, if you if you checkmate the king, game's
Yep,
over.
yep. But it's a bit like chess, but the draws are rarer, right? Because
Yeah,
there's control. If you both turtle up, there's still points to be had owning the
there
battlefield.
are indeed.
All right. Do you want to move to the next one?
Yes, please. Next.
All
Okay,
right.
so
Oh,
Warjack. This is Ace. He's actually Kane's personal Warjack. So at the beginning of your control phase, which is the second part of your turn, Warjacks in your entire battle group will actually generate 1 focus each. So if you have 5 Warjacks or even 10 Warjacks, each of those Warjacks will generate 1 focus. This is called the power up, but they can only have up to 3 focus by default. So when and at the end of your maintenance phase in your next turn, that focus is lost. So you actually can't hoard that resource by default.
right.
So similar to their Warcaster counterparts, Warjacks can spend 1 focus to boost an attack or damage roll. They can also be used to buy additional melee attacks or reload. Then, if you can see the box on the lower left of the card, this is the damage grid. So when a Warjack is damaged, your opponent will also roll a die to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 to determine which part of the Warjack has been damaged. In this case, for example, let's say 6 damage has been dealt to column 1. So those 3 boxes in column 1 and 3 boxes in column 2. Oh, sorry, can you go back? Yeah.
Oops. Yeah,
And
yeah.
3 boxes in column 2 will be filled up. So the L, or um, left
Left
part,
leg. Left leg.
left
Left
side
arm.
will be
Left
destroyed.
arm.
left arm. So in this case,
Left arm, it's left arm. Yeah,
yeah, his left weapon will
yeah.
no
This one,
longer be effective. So his
the
gun,
rotation cannon gets destroyed. You're right. Right.
it'll actually lose one attack
Nice.
and one damage die.
Yeah. You can still
Then
use it, but it's crippled.
yeah,
That
crippled.
crippled. Yeah, right.
Exactly, crippled. If the M or movement boxes get filled, your Warjack will move at a base speed, will not be able to run or charge, and will be hit much more easily. R is right, so that's simple, same as
This
left.
box, yep.
The right weapon will be crippled, and if the C is damaged, which is the cortex, the Warjack will no longer be able to get focus, so it becomes a much less effective unit after.
Right, because you're saying that the Warcaster, a savvy Warcaster knows when to allocate their focus to their Warjacks, right? And they're probably going to do that. Let's say your Warjack's up in front. He's the one in the thick of it. You're going to want to give them focus to give them additional attacks or maybe make them do special moves, right?
Yep.
But if the Cortex is gone, they're not receiving any of that, and they're just using their own. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, lore-wise, the one focus a Warjack generates is its own intelligence, right? You said they're semi-smart or they're semi-autonomous, right? They will do things without a Warcaster telling them to do things.
Yep.
But it only goes so far.
They
and
can.
That's what the one focus every turn represents. All right. And so thematically, I'm looking at this. This one has a gun, and I'm sure you'll explain the rest of this. So it's got both a melee and
Yeah. So the stats on the cards, speed is how fast they move. So in War
in inches,
Machine,
right? In actual inches.
in inches, yes, you can. Your movement is either a walk of your base speed, so in this case 6. It can also you can also run, but that spends both your movement and action, and automatically ends the activation of that model.
Of the model
It-
or the group.
Yeah, in this case, it's double their speed. The strength is how much strength they have, which is used for their melee weapons and some power attacks. Mat is melee attack, so that's your base skill when you use when you roll a die. Sorry, 2d6 by default to
Melee attacks, right? How
for
good they are
melee
at
attack.
melee combat.
Yes,
So you
Um,
add that to your die rolls
yes,
to see if you make their defense.
yes.
Right.
So the defense is the number of the target that you have to match.
Meet,
So
right? All right.
match. So if for example, Ace with his mat of 6 does a melee attack against someone with an attack of 12, they need
Defense.
to roll a 6 on their 2d6
Right.
to get that. So Rat, like Matt, except it's ranged attack,
Yeah.
and armor is the number you have to beat to surpass with a damage roll. So, for example,
So you gotta hit
Aces-
first. You gotta hit
yes,
first.
you need to hit first.
Your mat or your rat, you have to meet
Mhm.
their defense. When you hit their
Yes.
defense, you have to exceed their arm.
Surpass. Yes.
Okay.
So if Ace with his gun of POW 12 attacks someone with an arm of 15, he needs to roll at least a 4 to do 1 damage. If he rolls
Alright.
3, it matches the arm, so nothing goes in.
just pings off the armor. All right.
Yep.
And I noticed that here it's for melee weapons it's power plus. So the power is the weapon power, right?
Yes.
And when it's a melee
Plus
weapon,
S.
of course, you add the strength of the machine or
Yeah.
the person swinging the weapon
Mhm.
to the power of the weapon for your P plus S and compare that to the armor. All right.
There are
this-
actually some skills that, some spells or abilities that will give only bonus strength. So
Okay.
those don't affect ranged weapons, for example.
Right. And these other symbols, they're just like there's too much of this to explain.
Yeah,
right?
there's too much.
We're
We're
gonna
going to focus on the factions today. The
It's just
War
special
Machine
stuff
factions.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to play, you can actually play in the store now. If you know anybody who wants to play War
Mhm.
Machine, learn the game. We've got models in the story. We've got armies in the story. You can just show up at the forge. What you would have to say ahead of time, message the page that, hey, I want to learn War Machine, and we can send somebody over to teach you.
Hmm.
Yeah, and to learn the game. But more about that later. Let's head into the factions because it's hard to gauge like how deep we should go on these discussions. I'm sure that, but that's a really interesting detail, right? This
Yeah.
idea of the crippling weapons or movement or the ability to make your jack more effective. Um,
Hmm.
I played a fair amount of uh, Warhammer before. The damage rate, like the unit and the models, generally as effect. It used to be. It used to be that the model was as effective as it was
Hmm.
moving in. Maybe vehicles got certain damage, like you could destroy a weapon, but this is a very thematic and visual representation of a damage on a big robot accumulating, right?
Hmm.
So I really dig this. I really dig this mechanic. All right, moving into the next slide.
Okay. So hordes. Hordes, we're not going to go into too much today, but just for a primer on how they're different from War Machine. Hordes, if you're noticing, they have a more less technological, more savage look. Like one of the factions, some of the factions have like bows, or some even have like primitive guns, but in general, they are less developed countries. The armies are led by warlocks instead of warcasters, and they control war beasts instead of warjacks. Next slide, please. So here we have a Chromac, one of the warlocks of the Circle Orboros. So the number on the bottom, the prominent number, the 7 for Chromac, is his fury, not his focus. So as opposed to warcasters who generate their own focus, warlocks cannot get focus on their own. So fury is the amount of fury points that they start with, but they'll need help to get that back. So they can use the fury to cast spells, boost,
Same
and
things generally, right? Same things
same
that you
things
can do with
generally.
focus. Yeah, yeah.
One
Except
of
giving it to your things, to your
Yeah.
minions. Right.
Um, so one of the differences that warlocks have, one of the other differences warlocks have is they actually tend to have less spells than
Right. I think we
warcasters.
missed that when we were talking about Warcasters. We didn't look at the offside of a Warcaster
Uh,
card,
yeah,
but
I'll explain the spells, some of the spells
sure,
in their during the
sure, sure.
faction focus.
But the general idea is both of these are magic casting classes,
Yes, they
whether or not
are.
they have weapons, right?
Yeah, so
Right.
the warlocks are more a more primal force that instead of having way more spells, warlocks have less spells, but they can also draw on the powers of their war beasts
Right.
called the
They can
animi
essentially,
or
yeah, they can
animus.
cast it, right? So it actually expands their spell pool.
It does.
Uh, and it depends on the war beasts you bring because
It
there's a lot
does.
of war beasts for faction. So
And each of them has a
it
different animus.
right,
Yeah.
yep. And so there's a different flexibility when it comes to running a warlock compared to
Yep.
warcaster. Right. All right.
Then, as opposed to the armor bonus that warcasters get for spending focus when they're damaged, warlocks can spend one fury to transfer damage
Right. I
instead.
remember that. Right.
So I'll go a little bit more into that on the next page with war beasts.
So just a comparison, right? They're both magic casting. They both cast spells, right? But
Yep.
Chromac here's got a melee weapon only. He may
Yes,
have some ranged spells, right?
he
I'm not actually
does.
on the backside of this card
Mhm.
looks like. But Kane, the first Warcaster you showed us, he was ranged, and he has two. He got two ranged
Yes.
weapons here,
Mhm.
right? So these Warcasters and Warlocks have their own theme, right?
They
They
do.
have
Each
their
one.
style, right? Even the mix of spells is different. So
Yep.
actually, changing just the Warcaster you're carrying in the same battle group can change the flavor of the game you're playing, right?
Very much.
Right.
Like some warcasters or warlocks like support their army really well. Others
Do
like
the work.
do not use their army at all, and they're basically there to help deliver your warlock or warcaster, so he can do the
Yep.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, they can do the work. They can do the assassination, or
Mhm.
if not, they can hold the point because they're just chunky bastards, right?
Indeed.
All right. So yeah, I think that's also a great thing to talk about when you're talking about War Machine and Hordes because of the amount of control a single model has on how your battle group operates. Even if you have one faction, you get access to a bunch of playstyles.
You do.
Granted,
Mhm.
you might have to change some of the component warjacks and war beasts, but the idea is change the warlock and you change so much about your army that
Mhm.
that is exciting. It keeps it exciting actually.
Very
So yeah,
much.
move you to the next slide.
Okay, so war beasts. So a couple of things you'll notice in compared to the warjacks. War beasts actually have a fury stat of their own, so
Right.
they actually have 0 fury points. Their fury stat determines how many fury points they can accumulate. So the fury is can be generated in a few ways. First, they have their animus, which is a spell. Basically, besides their warlock casting the spell, the war beasts can also cast the spell themselves. So that will generate fury points equal to that number.
Whatever the
Um,
spell cost is, right?
yeah.
And that
So
varies
it
per war.
does for each
Right.
animus and war beast. They can also be used to boost attacks or buy attacks,
Yeah, when
similar.
you're saying boost, just to remind the viewers who aren't so familiar, boosting is getting
Sorry,
an extra die.
an extra die.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you usually roll two, you get another one. And how many times you can only boost once, right?
you can only boost once. You
Right.
can get additional dice
Some
from
other way,
certain
but
things.
not from boosting.
Yes,
You can get
boosting
buffs
through
from
Fury
your
or
warlock,
Focus
for
is only
example.
once per attack. Yes.
Right. But your warlock can give you extra dice. Some other models can give you extra dice, right?
Yep.
That's the
Mhm.
thing, right?
So the lore for this is that warlocks can't generate the fury on their own. Instead, they make the war beasts angry by making them fight, and they take that
Siphon it.
anger
They
and turn it
siphon it
into
and
power,
they turn it into magic, right?
which is really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's actually a polar opposite of, not really polar, but very much different from the focus allocation
Mhm.
mechanic from the War Machine side.
Yep.
Very different.
If, for example, you the other the other aspect of that though is that you can actually have too much fury
Right.
on your war beasts. So if, as you saw, Chromac had a um,
Seven Fury.
7 fury.
Right.
For example, you have Getorix who has 4, and let's say you had another Getorix with its character board. Let's say there's another war beast that has 4, and both of you're only able to take the 7 for Chromac.
There'd be one
The
left
war
over.
beast that has that 1 fury remaining will have to make a threshold check. It's that smaller number beside the fury. So for
Right.
that 1 remaining fury, you need to roll 2d6,
And add
and
the remaining Fury.
yeah, if it exceeds the threshold, the war beast will frenzy. If the war beast frenzies, it's
You lose
basically too
control of it.
pissed. It
Yeah.
will attack the closest unit in range, even if it's friendly.
In range or in sight?
In If it's in, it'll try to go for the closest in sight. Yes.
Because what if
So
it's right behind him? Does he
it won't.
attack the guy?
It won't.
Okay.
Yeah. So it will, but it will. It can actually charge towards the target.
The nearest
The
target. All right.
Yeah. We can go into that more when you do
Yeah.
cards, though. I'll
That's the core difference between the two, right?
yeah,
The central the king essentially,
yeah.
the main guy you're carrying, your character, if you think about it, how and what kind of how they get their energy. So for the warcaster side, it's they generate it every turn. For the horde side, they have to make their beasts generate it, but only so much, so that they can take it and but not overdo it that their beasts get mad,
And kill
right?
them.
Yep, and kill their friends.
Yeah.
So Very cool. Moving into the next one. Here we go.
Oh, so we covered that already.
We kind of covered it a bit.
Yeah.
That's a friend.
Next.
Here we go.
Okay, so Warmachine versus Hordes. What I love about this game system is that both systems are compatible.
Friendly, right? Yep, they can play.
Mm. And so, like here, you have dragons against giant robots. That is just
Funky.
freaking awesome to me.
Yep, super cool. All right. Uh, all right, and now we're going to talk about the factions, right? So,
Factions.
sure, go ahead.
Special thanks to Eric Licknock, who's in the audience, for the lore, because I am not a lore guy. I just like the pretty models. So Signar it's kind of like Murica slash UK, where it's the most centrally located Iron Kingdom surrounded by rivals, and it boasts a very progressive government. There's actually some very interesting lore, but I am not qualified to fully talk about it. But there's like civil war and shit, and it's fun stuff. You can ask Eric about that.
All right.
And it is the most technologically advanced fashion. So their playstyle is the most high-tech faction. They have a lot of the best guns in the entire game.
Okay. Okay.
And they also have lightning, which, besides the damaging properties, can actually jump from characters to character and can also potentially cause warjacks to seize up and be disrupted, preventing them from gaining focus. And they also have guns that shoot lightning. So, I mean, each army, each faction has something that'll basically that fills a niche. But these are the general playstyles of the faction.
Yeah, Eric's saying it. They're now the third most high tech faction, which I think is if I'm not mistaken, a development based on the new factions released.
It is. There's
all
a
right.
lot of really interesting lore.
Yeah, there's a lot of new lore coming out, and we're not the lore experts here. But anyway, next time maybe we can get Eric when he's not so busy.
Yeah, would be great.
Just do more of a lore-oriented episode. So playstyle. Let's talk about playstyle. Lots of guns, lightning which jumps, and thematically, I guess this is what they look like. I don't know how to describe this.
Yeah, these are that's their the blue is their signature color, but you're not.
Paint, yeah,
you can paint them absolutely anything, any color you want.
But that's
like,
the aesthetic. I think it's medium build. They're medium sized compared to they're not the skinniest designs in the system, but they're also not the chunkiest ones either. I think they're somewhere in the middle. They've got rounded, very rounded, and like looking at the angles on their jacks here, it's not very angular, the design, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the thematic. Let's see what the next slide is. Yeah, and then they've got these guys.
So these were actually one of the first models that I played against Louie de Guzman. I don't know if you're here, but like he's an awesome player. We're glad to welcome back. The gun mages were one of the coolest things to me. Like, if you saw Shadow and Bones recently, I'm not sure, but I'm like fairly sure they implied it that Jasper, was it the one of the thieves was probably some kind of gun mage. Like he uses guns as his weapons, but he's able to use some mysterious way to modify the bullets with magic.
I thought he was just a badass, but here we go. Okay, I look forward to figuring out which one of it is.
It's kind of implied in season 1, but I hope that's not a spoiler. But anyway, that's a few months old. So the Arcane Tempest gun mages, first of all, their bullets are magic, so they can actually harm ghosts and other incorporeal objects. Then they have different types of shots, so they can only make one shot, but you can choose to do extra damage on a crit. You can choose to increase their range, or you can get them to push their target, which helps for.
All right. Positioning. So I'm seeing that you're saying this special. Even the units have like special abilities on their own, right?
They do
certain things. They're not just like, okay, these carry guns. these carry guns that deal more damage but are less accurate. These carry
Hmm.
guns. It's not just like that. There's
Everything
even
has their own
more.
flavor. Yeah.
There's a deeper level of gameplay to be had. All right,
Okay,
I hear.
so these are some of the models that we saw in that first picture. These are the Stormblade infantry. These are knights that have lightning generating swords.
All right, or glaives. Oh, with swords and glaives, and
I,
they're
I
long.
I love it. It's like they can choose to shoot with their lightning, which is lightning damage. They can also choose to stab people with their big pointy stuff.
All right,
Uh, they're naturally immune to electric, and they can invite these gunners that you see here in the bottom middle. So those gunners, if they shoot and hit you once, the following attacks will automatically hit them.
all
This
right,
is a
all
nice
right. So they're
buff.
like a marker. All right,
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, those are these like the banner models you're looking at for Signar? This give you a taste of the.
It- yeah.
Or there's just some because from my
These are just some
understanding,
like
there's quite a diverse amount of thematic in each faction.
there are, yeah.
All right, but I guess these are one of the most cool looking ones
They are.
in the RPG. This is one of the classes you could play actually.
Oh yeah. The RPGs just came out and it's fucking awesome. And I believe
The
is
five
available
edition
in Dragon
RPG version.
Forge.
Yeah, we're gonna have some at the Forge, but we still have the old one. They have their own system. It's actually pretty good too. Uses the same base two dice, same defense, power, P plus S, rat and mat stats. Essentially, an RPG version of the tabletop game. That's also
Mhm.
available. And this is one of the classes. When we played, unfortunately, nobody played this class, but it's pretty cool.
So trenchers, man. Trenchers are basically like the grunt troops of Signar. So their stats aren't great, but they are super defensive. So like they're not very accurate. They're gonna need some help, but they can either drop smoke, which gives them concealment, and will also completely hide anything behind them.
Oh, yeah.
Alternatively, they can go into cover themselves. They're called trenches because they dig a trench, and
Right,
then
right,
they're able
right.
to
Yeah.
build a small wall for themselves and get extra protection.
Right, and this is giving me like a World War I, and I hope the history buffs out there don't get pissed off at me for not knowing my shtick. But it just makes me think of World War I with the trench warfare, even the coloring, and the bayoneted rifles here. Except maybe for the pauldrons, but that's Warmachine for you.
Mhm.
All right,
Okay, Rangers. So I just included Rangers because they're, I would say, a must-have in almost any Signar list. That's focused on range at least.
okay,
Rangers will help with ranged attacks because they're basically spotters.
all
So
right.
as long as a model is within 5 inches of them, all other friendly Signar models that shoot that target will have a +2 to their range. The ranged
Oh,
attack roll,
range attack
which
roll.
is
Wow,
huge. Yeah,
that's huge. That's huge. All right.
it's simple, but it's very effective.
All right. And here we go, of course.
So here we are going into the Warjacks. This is their aesthetic. The Ironclad you can sort of consider it a Signar's mascot. Like the very first poster we had, the Warjack that was featured there was the Ironclad. It's cheap and kind of ridiculously strong. It's a bit slow, but if it hits you with that hammer, it knocks you down. In this game, if you're knocked down, basically anything can hit you because you're on the floor.
Right,
Melee
right.
attacks will auto hit, and ranged attacks will miss on anything but Snake Eyes twos, which is a critical fail in this game.
Yep. All right. Yeah, the Ironclad. And so that's the Warjack aesthetic for this, right?
Mhm.
They've got those steam stacks because it is steam powered combat, and very rounded, but very still metallic look to it.
Yep.
All right. Here's another one.
Next is the Firefly. As I mentioned, the lightning is a big part of Signar's game. The Firefly is mainly a support warjack. Its weapon's okay, but it's two main features are first, its ranged gun, which you can see there on its left. If it hits an initial target, which you still need to do an attack roll for, the lightning will bounce to D3
D3
friendly
target.
D3 enemy targets that are close by.
Tasty. Oh, it's
So,
enemy.
oh,
It's
sorry,
red
actually,
lightning.
actually not enemy. But the thing
Closest.
is, a lot of Signar models are immune to lightning,
Right.
so it
Okay.
won't go for. It will tend not to go for friendly Signar models. The other thing is, within 5 inches of the Firefly, lightning damage will get +2. So sometimes if you have a lot of those, let's say storm guards, you just put in a Firefly, stick it next to the target, and it takes more damage.
Watch the lightning fly. All right. Oh, Steven was asking in the chat, is there anything with rat? I don't know. Like, I don't think the other Jack had rat, but this one probably does. And I'm
That
not
one
sure.
does. The all models, most models have
Yeah.
rat, even if
All
they
models
don't
have a rat
use it.
score, even if they don't have a ranged attack gun,
Yeah.
skill, weapon. I don't know why. Maybe just throwing somebody require you to use your rat skill. It
No,
probably
it's still
does, but I
melee,
don't
but uh,
All
maybe
right.
they'll introduce a rule someday that needs that. Oh, and here we have one
Oh,
of
very cool.
Signar's character jacks. So this is Thunderhead. It is, well, at the time, was the most advanced war jack in the entire world.
When it was made, right?
Yeah.
Circa 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, but Eric says there are now more advanced war jacks.
So
And
let's clarify for the viewers who are not familiar. When you say character warjack, that means it's unique, right? You can't have two of these
yes.
running around on your battlefield. Their
Yeah.
name, this is a name, essentially is a proper name.
Yep.
Thunderhead. Right,
You can think of it as a hero, basically.
right, there you go.
It still needs a warcaster to function properly, but it's unique. It has like its own personality, and like in some cases, character warjacks can bond with warcasters or warlocks to sort of get enhanced abilities. So Thunderhead himself, one of his main things is that he can produce an electric pulse in front of him, which will just automatically hit. So you can charge in with him, then blow this pulse. So if, for example, there are models that have def of like 16, 17, which even
Ignore
with it's ignored. They just automatically get hit with this pulse of lightning.
And when these models have high def, usually their armor is going to be a little bit lower, right? That's
Yeah.
the trick. Like if you're
They're-
hard to hit, that probably means you're agile or you've got
Yeah.
some magic obscuring you. But the moment you are hit, you're not heavily armored.
Yep.
And that's the vice versa, right? If you've got a lower def score, meaning you're big, you're clunky, you're easy to hit, your armor scores often usually a little bit higher. But that's not always the case. Of course, there's always exceptions, right?
Yep. Pretty
All right.
much.
And Eric was saying Thunderhead's still pretty advanced, cutting edge for the human nations.
Yep.
Feel the human nations.
Yeah, the elves are kind of, there's a lot going on. Oh, so here we have also, thanks to Louis de Guzman, was one of my introductions to Warmachine, Captain Alistair Kane, whom we saw a bit of a while ago. He is the single greatest ranged assassin in all of Warmahordes. So he's an assassination warcaster, plain and simple. His spell list is designed to get him close to the enemy. So he has one spell.
Disagree, but sure, go ahead.
He has one spell called Apparition, which will let him teleport a short distance at the start of every turn. He also has another spell called Gatecrasher, which teleports him an additional 5 inches. So I believe Kane's assassination game right now is somewhere around 17 inches if you play him right. And it's...
Woo!
So he has two pistols, as you can see.
That's most of the board, right?
Yeah,
That's most of the board. Okay.
like half. Yeah. So he, as you can see, he's guns akimbo. He with his dual pistols.
Oh man.
And as the premier gun mage in the world, basically, he so he has two guns, so that's 2 initial shots for free. And normally you have a reload stat where you can only buy that many attacks, additional ranged attacks. If there's no reload, you can't get more ranged attacks. Kane, because of his magic, has infinite ranged attacks. If
Okay.
as long as he can
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
them focus.
So yeah, and that's one of the really cool things. Like we keep harping on how each Warcaster is different, and so you've got this entire game plan for Kane to get him within shooting range of the enemy Warcaster and
Yep.
unload all the focus. You're not gonna spend it on any of your jabs. You're just gonna unload it all on Kane, hoping he punches through the opposing Warcasters because that guy's gonna have focus too. He can use some of it to reduce some
Yep.
of the damage. If he's a warlock, he can throw the damage to some of his beasts, but of course, it's gonna be limited. And you have, and I'm sure there's like more than 10 other Signaran
There's a
Warcasters,
lot. There's
right?
something
To
like
play
I'd say maybe
completely different.
15 now. So
15,
each.
right? So yeah. So
Oh,
that's
and
just the taste.
the other thing that's fun about um, Warmachine is it's an evolving game. So as the story evolves, these characters have different versions. This is
Yeah,
actually the second version of Kane.
yeah, I like
The
that about
first
him.
version of him, instead of doing a straight up assassination run, his feat. Oh, sorry, I didn't explain feats. Each warlock and warcaster has a once per game ability called a feat, which basically like can shift
It's
the
old.
balance
You
of
can
the
call it an
entire
old,
game.
like from video games.
Ultimate,
Like it's
yeah,
old. Yeah, it's old.
from
Yeah,
Overwatch and
yeah,
MOBAs. It's their ult. Once per
yeah.
game, they do their ult. So this is Kane 2. Kane 1's ult is he will jump into the air and shoot his pistols at every single thing within
In
his
sight,
control
right?
range.
Within a
Yeah.
certain range, right. Yep. So yeah, and
Uh,
that's just one of the 15 or more Warcasters in just one of the
in just one
factions, right?
faction, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's why it gets kind of crazy. And what I love about it, which we failed to touch on as like a very important point, because you can lose the entire game of the death of one guy.
Yep.
It actually makes for a more competitive game. You have to be
Yes.
tighter the way you play it, which doesn't mean there isn't casual gameplay at the Forge, right? We
There
still
are
dumb around. We
definitely.
still dumb around with any game at the Forge, but at the same time, you're really measuring the inches. The every millimeter matters when you're playing the game.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, there's quite a lot of variety in the gameplay. All right, I'll move us to the next one. But
Okay.
we've got like 12 minutes and we didn't even finish the one faction. So why don't we just like breeze through the rest of them? I don't think we'll be able to,
Yeah.
because we were talking about how the game runs in general. And we're covering
Mhm.
Signar. So yeah, I guess Striker,
Kane Striker, he's a support.
elevator pitch me Coleman Striker.
Yeah, he will give +5 armor, which makes everything super
All right.
tough.
Makes everybody super tough, giving
Yeah.
you a turn to push in and hopefully turn the tide. Okay. Uh,
And
Haley.
Victoria Haley, she's
Five versions of Haley or four?
there are 3 versions now.
Three.
So
Okay.
you actually have the initial sculpt on the upper left, the new sculpt on the upper right, the second version on the lower left, and the third version on the lower right. She becomes, because Haley is one of the most potentially powerful warcasters in the game. She actually has limited control over
Hi,
time.
Michael. Archie. Go ahead.
So that third version, that is, she summoned a past and future version of herself into the present to fight
All right. That's funky.
as a
And
unit.
it's a unit. They move as a
Yeah.
unit, right? So again, like we were saying, all those 3 models would move at the same time, right? Just
Yeah.
like a squad of 10 Storm Guard infantry has to all move and then do their action at the same time.
Yes.
All right. All right. So, one sentence: Protectorate of Mena.
Menoth is the crazy religious people who
All
believe
right.
in fire, like lots of fire
Religious,
and buffs.
Okay.
Buffs.
Buffs and fire. Okay.
Yes.
And so, where lightning bounces, fire is damage over time. I'm assuming. You can
Fire
lightning and fire.
is, yes, a damage roll of 12 if it does not expire.
Okay. Light things up. Okay. Synergy and buffs. Yeah, and some of the best melee fighters in
Yep.
the game. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get a better shot of their war jacks. So
Yeah, we will a little later. So this is
they've
just an
got a
example of
very
their
crusadery, right?
yeah their meal. Some of the best melee fighters, the Knight Seneschal. So they have this nice synergy that if the unit members are damaged, they get stronger. So
Okay.
if one
Wow.
dies, the rest get stronger. Then the Seneschal on the lower right gets even stronger when his friends die too. So there's like
Okay.
this really good mix of synergy in the entire faction. The Choir of Menoth, this is practically a must take in every Menoth army. These can buff the Warjacks. It'll either give them extra damage or it gives them safety from spells and magic.
Ooh. Oof. All right, and that's big because some more casters are like I mean, do most of their work by casting spells. And again, you've got this very crusadery, priesty feel here.
Yep.
You see, let's fire.
So Flame Guard,
Oh,
the
wait, are
name
those
the name says it.
good?
They burn stuff.
Okay. Okay, my bad.
Dervish is one of their light warjacks. So the Menoth has a lot of good light warjacks. These aren't as tough as the Ironclad that we saw a while ago, but they're faster and they
And they cost less, right?
yes,
Like
much
in
less.
like most more war gaming, this is a cost based thing. You play the same cost units.
Yep.
Yep, and I think a big thing that people like to talk about is the balance is tighter in War Machine and Hordes than its alternatives. They really tweak the rules a lot every year just to make sure the costing is fair.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And
The
you also
Reckoner.
sorry, I'm
Sorry.
gonna go back. Dervish, that's a very crusadery, because like Middle East, right? That's where they had the
Yep.
Crusades. It's a very Eastern thing. So that's really the thematic they've got here.
The Reckoner is one of the more popular warjacks. Like it has a gun and a giant club, and that's nice as a start. But then you have the Choir of Menoth, which makes them even stronger.
All
So
right.
you always take them basically. The
Ooh,
Avatar of Manoth is another character warjack, and this one, unlike the others, does not have a battle group commander. It is not going to be under the Warcaster. Instead, it's basically an autonomous unit that generates its own focus, and it can tank. So it can force models to advance towards it instead of towards any other
wow.
model.
I did not know there
And
was anything that
if
did
it stabs someone, they explode and set all their
that.
friends on fire.
All right, that's funky. So fire, right? Oh man, look at that. What's that
Okay,
model from the left from? Is that from the book?
this is this is High Exemplar Krios. He was the battle box commander in Mark II.
Okay.
So he supports buffs his army, but one of the
Okay.
reasons he was so popular, his feat is very simple.
Oh my
It
god, knock
knocks
down.
down everything in his control range.
Right. So you knock everybody down, you charge everybody in, and you just free hit city,
Yep,
right?
pretty much.
Tasty.
Fiora is like the fire warcaster, like
Okay.
more than any other.
So
So normally, when someone is set on fire at the beginning of your maintenance phase, you roll a die on a 1 or 2, the fire disappears. Within Fiora's control, it can never disappear. So
and I'm assuming she has a pretty big control range to make
she
that effect.
does, and she has fire spells as one would expect, makes her warjacks faster. And when her feat is that for each person on fire in her control range, she gets a
Sure.
focus point.
Focus.
She
Right.
can then allocate to her warjacks so they can get
This is
even
out
more
of the control
focus.
phase. This
This
is
is out of
during
the
her
control
movement,
phase.
right? Ooh.
Yeah. So it's additional focus. And then you can transfer those fire effects to people who matter, like say the warcaster or
Right.
an important solo that wouldn't be able to survive the fire
Something
roll.
that's about to die. Right.
Yep. And last from Menoth, we have the Harbinger of Menoth. So she is so holy that they need to chain her down, otherwise she'll float. Um, so her spells are all buffs, mostly to infantry, but so she takes an infantry centric army, and her feat is she radiates so strongly that if anything comes closer to her, they will burn for 14 damage.
All right, let's do one more just to give them a taste, but really quickly now because we're running out of time.
Okay, okay.
Because we got five
Um,
minutes to go. But let's talk about Kador, which is I think one of the more important factions to talk
okay,
about.
so this last faction treatment, I guess, Kador is the currently it's the most popular faction in the country. I believe that Kesh is also a Kador player.
No, he's a
Uh,
Space Wolves player, but yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
right, right. So the northernmost Iron Kingdom, it's basically fantasy Russia. So they're very brutal, militaristic, and they have the highest armor in the game.
All right,
Going into their playstyle, um,
let's look at what they look like. All
it's
right,
slow and heavy but tough.
okay.
They have some of the biggest guns in the game as well. So going into the units, Winter Guard
We
infantry are basically
we know what.
conscripts.
Yep, we know what that this is based on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of suck, but they're cheap, and if you have enough of them, they will kick ass. The Manowar Demolition Corps. So the Manowar armor is a giant suit of armor, which is I'd estimate maybe 7-8 feet tall.
Oopsie, sorry. Go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's just a power suit of armor. It makes them super slow, but it gives them an enhanced
Power
strength
and armor, right?
and armor. Make them very tough.
Oh, and ice. They've got ice effects. Is this a
Yes,
Kador thing? Ice.
they have. Kador also very icy
What does
magic.
ice do? So if lightning
Ice
bounces, it fires DOT. What's
uh,
that?
ice can potentially freeze. It lowers defense, then can
Or
eventually make a model stationary, so
Hmm.
that stationary is basically worse than knockdown.
right? You get easy to shoot and easy to hit.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
It's a
Next
debuff.
is the Doom Reavers. So Doom Reavers are prisoners that have been given magic swords. The swords make them kill anything. If
Okay.
they charge something, they kill the model. The only model next to them is their buddy. They have to kill their buddy because
Oh.
they are insane.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that about
Unless
it.
you have the escort who on the upper right who basically like has a leash on them and lets them not do that if they want
Okay.
to.
And here we go.
The Juggernaut is the mascot of Kador. It has a big axe which can freeze enemies. The Kador Jacks by default have an armor of 20, which is uh, higher than almost anything in the game.
Okay. Yeah. Chunky. This is your front line.
Yes. The Berserker is the older chassis. So what's fun about these guys is they also go berserk like the Doom Reavers. So they will attack other even friendly models if
Okay.
they're in range. But they're also old as shit. So if they're given focus and they use that focus, it can potentially overload them, causing them to blow up.
Okay. Okay. Funky. But
So
that could be a
good
good
or
thing.
bad, depending
depending
on
on your plan.
your use. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
last for the Dwarjacks, we have the Devastator. So it's a clamjack. Those arms are actually also shields. So as long as it keeps its arms closed, it's at arm 23. And there's nothing higher than that, I believe.
Right. And we
Um,
forgot to talk about how in this game there are rear arcs, right? There's a
yes,
front
they're
arc
also rear
where you
arcs.
can see and shoot, and then there's a rear arc where you're easier to hit. Do you deal more
Yes.
damage while you're in the rear arc?
They're only if you have backstab, which is a
Right.
special
So
skill. by
you've
some
got a
things.
special skill to deal more damage, but it's definitely easier to hit somebody if you're
Yes.
standing behind them, right? Okay.
And Beast
That's a
09, one last, is a character Jack, actually
Yeah.
Sorshas. She is it's a special juggernaut with an even bigger axe, and it's
Can't go-
angrier.
Can't go wrong. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And maybe a few Warcasters to wrap it
Yeah.
up.
So Vlad is one of the most popular. This is his first version, the Dark Prince of Umbre. So spell will either let him buff his entire army, giving them an extra die to both attack and defense. Then they discard the lowest. So it actually helps just skew the odds a little bit more in your favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his feat is simple. It doubles the speed of his warjacks. So from speed 4, which is super
8.
slow, they become speed 8.
Which
So
means
those
charging 16. All right. Did I get
No,
that?
8 plus 3,
Oh,
11,
yeah,
but
11.
still
Okay.
super
That's
far.
pretty good. That's pretty good compared to
Yeah.
the four you were running before, right? All right. Yeah, here we go.
Sorsha, she's also one of the battle box commanders from Mark II. She also has an interesting game in that she her feet will make everything that she can see stationary. Then she can charge in with her scythe, which actually deals extra damage to stationary
Secondary
models.
targets. Okay, okay. But would you say she's good at that? She doesn't look
She
very chunky to me.
she isn't, but she can assassinate quite well.
All right, so you gotta make it. It's a make or break
Yeah,
assassination. Okay.
often
Okay.
is in the game.
Well, it's true. If you're going for an assassinate with your caster and it goes south,
Yeah,
you're often caught out in the open.
pretty much. And last, personally, my favorite warcaster in the game, the Butcher Unleashed. So he is the most powerful melee fighter in the entire game with two-headed dogs. His spell list is basically him getting close to you, and once he's close to you, if you're still not in range, he can draw you in like a vacuum.
Right, I remember this. I've fought this a lot of times. Yeah.
And if he touches you, you're pretty much gonna die.
All right, and so you've
So
got like
since we're short on time, why don't we just show some of them the painted models of our community at the very bottom,
okay, where would to?
towards the bottoms. May it's a
Uh,
lot.
it's okay. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
scroll
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Here we go.
Ayan, yan, yan.
Yeah.
So just a quick look at some of the community's models. So there's
Oh,
Mike Troy's Mercenaries. We'll talk about them next time. More mercs. Mike has the best collection of mercs in the country. Vic's Menoth in black, which is very, very well painted. And his Kador as well. Eric has a sizable collection of Signar and Crix, as well as some trolls, I believe. And
those are big.
so many painted, yeah. There's a Signar and actually his entire collection. It's quite significant. Archie's Kador, and Kim's Kador. Kim was the first player in the entire country. He has a lot more of that.
Oh, is
There's
that our
recipes
Jack with the big
pictures.
axe you're talking about? That's
Yes,
our.
that is Beast 09. And Kesh's Space Wolves. I feel this is kind of blasphemous, but okay.
This is illegal. You can't play that in a tournament, but it's fine because we goof a lot in DF.
Hmm.
Of course, there's an inordinately large amount of Kesh pictures here because Kesh is the one who prepared the presentation.
Indeed.
Hello.
Okay, Kesh is back. Thank you so
Hello.
much, John. I suppose
You're
we had
welcome.
too much fun talking about the specifics of things.
Yeah.
Uh, yep. I don't know. Kesh will decide if we're going to go back and discuss all the other stuff.
Yeah, just let us know if there's
Yeah,
interest. We
you
can do
guys
that.
have like an hour.
No, I don't. In fact, you didn't. I only allotted an hour for this today. So
Allah.
We can always do it another time.
Yeah.
If people are interested in learning more, they can contact the Dragon Forge, or they can join the wonderful War Mahords PH group, where we can just hang, chat, and learn more about this little fun game.
Yeah. So yeah, join the chat. Join the Dragon Forge Discord if you want to schedule a
Yeah,
game.
we have recently revamped the Discord, so like all games are now there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And join the Facebook group, of course. Warm Hearts PH for
Yes.
all the advice. I will say that if you're planning to start this game, it's good for your mental fortitude because all the players, nobody's gonna go easy on you. They are gonna
Except
smack.
me. I'm the friendliest player in the game,
That
and
is true. That is
I,
true.
I have the highest loss rate in the entire game
If
in the
you're
country.
not
Oh no
fighting
no no
John,
no. VN has the highest loss rate in the game.
of course we're gonna shit on Vian even if he's not here. But like I
Yeah.
said, if you wanted to start this game, just prepare your heart because most of the time if you play somebody who's not John, me, or Vian, they are gonna send you through the floor without you touching them if
We're
they
You
can.
friendly.
gon' die.
In a friendly way, with a smile and with all
Yes.
the advice on how to do better next time, which doesn't
But
make it
you
any
will
less
die.
fun. Yeah. For all the reasons we've discussed, and I think that's also why we got caught up in it.
Yeah.
There's
Hmm.
just so much you can do with the units. Even if you can run a really small table with what, three models
Yep.
for the starter, or
So
even
Start
honestly,
the starter
if
battle
if you
box.
don't want to think, can you
Oh,
go
one
back
sec.
like
Go on.
like 3 slides, Lou? There we go. If you really don't want to think, you just bring the butcher of Cardov. Like spam whatever else you want. You can just spam hello doggos. You can just spam Warjacks, Juggernaut, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do that, and then you bring the huge swinging dick, which is um
this
the
or the other
butcher,
one.
also known as Lehman Russ. This are the one with
It's
his doggos.
blasphemous.
You
Yeah,
just
the one
bring
with the
that,
dogs. Yeah,
l-
and send him into.
aim at
Send,
your enemy's warcaster or warlord, and let loose.
yeah, that's an
That's it.
option. That's an option. Yeah, if you wanted to,
Zero think.
if you like the aesthetic, but the advice remains the same, right, John? I mean, our usual advice is pick an army that you like the look of,
Yes.
because you're gonna
Play.
spend a lot of
Yeah.
time building too.
Mm. If I honestly, if I just played what was meta, I wouldn't enjoy it as much because I
Yeah.
might not like the models.
Yeah, and like we said, this is way balanced. Balance is a really
It
big part of
is.
the development philosophy. So it's not gonna be perfect. Like no game is perfectly
Mhm.
balanced, but
Not even chess.
yep. But it'll be closer. It will be closer than you want, so you won't have complaints that I picked a bad army.
Yep.
That's not usually gonna be the case. It's gonna be you. You can blame yourself, which could be a
Yep.
good or bad thing depending on your inclination with these things.
Yeah. Honestly, the only thing more balanced than Warmahordes right now that I can think of is Titanicus, and that's because you literally all have the same models.
Same model, right? So
Yeah.
right.
Titanicus of Manila.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't plug that we can absolutely order anything on the Privateer Press catalog,
Anything.
even the Press exclusives and
Mhm.
Bahi line.
Bye.
Just message the page or talk to me or Kesh, and we'll hook you up.
Yeah.
It usually takes about a month to get things in.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely anything. Even the new stuff. If you prefer the board game Riot Quest, want to play Monster Apocalypse, or you want to try what's it called? Warcaster Neo Mechanic.
Warcaster. Ian
Yeah,
Mechanica,
Yeah,
yes.
Warcaster.
the sci-fi version of Warmahordes. You
Mhm.
can ask the page or ask me, and we'll get you anything. Kesh, did
Indeed.
you want to say anything before
Yeah.
we close
Very
this out?
important announcement. Did you guys already like mention the in-store play?
Not yet.
Okay. So
Unless you can go
let's just
anywhere.
go to Calendar
Yes.
Chan. So
Okay.
for Calendar Chan, can we go to next slide? Like wala na, finish na ang month. We'll be releasing the December calendar in like December. Because Mr. Doctor hasn't like made it yet. But speaking of things Mr. Doctor has not yet made, we are open again for in-store play. If you remember of Dragon Forge Wargaming, we have a reservation system there for the Wargaming table. If you're a card gamer, just show up. There are two tables outside that you can use. Um, but we'll be releasing a really nice infographic once Mr. Doctor comes back from his quote unquote trip. I feel like he's on drugs, but yeah. So once he comes back from his trip, he'll finish the infographic for in-store play for us. We'll post it up on the page, and you guys can like do your reservations. We are requiring once again requiring vaccinations. Um, Even though like I'm super sick from vaccination right now, it's still
Worth
like
it.
a couple of days of being sick is much better than dying.
Yep.
So yeah, that's true for any illness that has a vaccine. Please do get your shots. even if you're super sensitive to vaccines like me.
Mhm.
But for now, if you're not a member of the Dragon Forge Wargaming, you can phone ahead. We will be updating our contact details on the Facebook page probably
Yeah,
by
our
tomorrow.
phone our
Yeah,
phone
we
changed.
changed
So
our phone number
yeah,
since
use
we
Facebook
changed our
Messenger first. Yeah, if you're oh, Kesh got just cut out. If you are on the
yeah
stream anyway, you're probably watching us on some sort of social media platform. So just
yeah.
message the page. Hey, Kesh is back.
In the words of Blizzard, don't you all have phones? So just message us on social media and you can place a reservation there until we get the infographic up, and then you guys will be able to check then if the schedules that you want are already taken. And
Yes.
very very important announcement, in December we will be launching a Kill Team League headed by our very own teacher Mikey.
Gasp.
Right.
Yes, so if you're into Kill Team at all, you get into that. We will be announcing more details once we make the details next week.
Yeah.
The details don't currently exist.
Michael, I'll add you to our Warma Hordes chat for the Dragon Forge, just so that you
Yes,
can,
definitely put Michael in every single group we have
even if
so
you
that
just want to paint,
yeah,
so you can ask people about it.
yes. Like special mention to Michael because last month he spent so much that he paid the salaries for the entire staff.
Maybe you shouldn't be saying that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Michael.
yeah, yeah. Oh, he knows it. He knows it.
You have you have kept the star afloat and made our staff very happy. They love you so much, and so do we.
Yeah.
And I've just added you to the chat.
John's gonna
People don't know
be
about it.
helping naman this month because I'm
God
hoping
damn
his
it.
skill rig and his monster will arrive.
Sigh. Yeah.
And gargantuans. I have never painted a gargantuan.
You
Uh,
should. It's fun.
to
Oh,
those,
Grimkin. The Grimkin Gargantuan just came out recently.
I have
I
not
painted
seen
the
it.
colossal.
I'll send you a
What does
link
it look
later.
like? What does it look like?
It's
Look
if
it
you've
up.
seen have you seen Monster House? It's basically Monster House. Google Slaughterhouse Bahi.
Bahi?
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, one word.
Oh, this is a FF7 remake enemy, right? I
Kind
can't.
of.
A bit like no, it's got a tree, so automatically no. But am I?
If you've seen
Uh,
the movie Monster House, it's basically that.
I'm so worried that we'll share something we're not supposed to. Because I
Yeah,
want to.
It's
yeah.
okay. We can react to videos on YouTube. It's fine.
So
That's the thing we can do.
this can attack, and it can generate a rough terrain patch around itself,
Oh dang.
and it shines
Oh,
its light is a ranged attack. If it hits, it'll draw in whatever gets hit.
When you said
tasty. How far?
slaughterhouse, I thought you were just talking about like old witch on her Baba Yaga hut.
Oh, that's fun. I really need to paint that. That's her robot Baba Yaga hut.
Do you have one?
I do.
Yeah, I have one
Yeah,
too.
yeah. John has that. And then that's both Kador and
And Grimkin,
Grimkin,
yes.
Crimson,
yes.
right? Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. This looks nice. It wouldn't be the first Colossal I'd paint though. I'd rather paint the Retribution Colossal.
Well,
But this looks nice. I really
I
like the
already
details
have a
with the
Cador Colossal,
little
the Victor.
gremlins, little gremlins lurking about, and the hands.
mhm.
Really nice detail here. I'm assuming though this is entirely plastic.
Resin
Right?
actually.
Oh, that'd be
Okay.
slightly better.
Yeah, resin is better than
Mhm.
plastic. God's plastic.
All right. I think one thing I'd like to ask both of you guys on the stream with me, and
Mhm.
maybe the people in the stream, just so that like we can do a bit of sharing. Like, what's your favorite sculpt from the game? And I'm gonna try and flash it up here.
Uh, my favorite sculpt in the game. Wow, that's tough. Oh, look up Omodamos from Infernals.
Omodamos.
Yeah,
Did I spell
let's
that
just
right?
spell it. Yep. Images.
Let's just go to image search.
Yeah,
Oh,
there.
which was we'll look at the base.
Any of those. Yeah.
We'll look at the
Official.
Official
So
paint
that
paint
is
scheme.
an infernal. It we'll discuss its rules at a future point. I'll
Oh my god! And then our internet decided, no, we're not gonna help. Oh, because it's not coming from the official site.
oh there. Just try the upper leftmost pick. That's a good representation.
That's
Yeah.
that's Pinterest.
Pinterest. Okay, there you go. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
So
yeah, from
it's
Ace of Spades.
a demon lord ghost thing with two gigantic flails, and it's fucking awesome.
Troll
Okay,
Bloods. Let's. Michael says Troll Bloods Mountain
Mountain
King,
King. Yes.
and then we'll get Bumbles after that.
Oh,
Oh
Bumbles
wow!
is awesome. Oh,
Oh
the
look
Mountain
at
King's probably one of my favorite models. It's actually pretty old at this point, but it's still a really good sculpt.
Oh my god.
Oh, if you think that is good though, look up Troll Blood Sea King.
Seeking.
Let's get to Bumbles first, because in the order in which people suggest. What am I gonna put? Bumbles, War Machine,
um, yeah.
or is
Sorry,
it War
Riot
Machine
Quest.
Horde?
Riot Quest. Yeah. Oh, it's Bumbles. Upper left, most one. Yeah.
The
It's
bear.
it's Bumbles.
Okay, it's the bear.
So that's actually a Riot Quest model, which is actually a separate game, but every Riot Quest model
It's playable in the
has
system, right?
War Machine Hordes rules. Yes.
And Kesh, what was yours?
Butcher 3.
Yeah.
Which is technically three
We showed
models,
it a
but
while
you
ago,
know.
but yeah.
Oh yeah, the one we showed, the murderous one. Let's take a look at the Seeking.
Yeah. Troll Blood Sea King.
Seeking evolves from Goldian, right?
He is into that.
Oh, look at that.
It's the
He's
size of
got,
a mountain king, but instead of a mountain, he
he's
put a
got
ship
Yes, a ship.
that, and he's
That
got
that's great.
ship hat.
blistering barnacles, complete with the. You could totally paint the design on the sail, but who paints designs on sails? And it's got an
Oh,
anchor.
Eric, what was the new version of the galleon? The new mercenaries colossal. Um, what's the name?
Is it the Frost King? Troll Bloods Frost King?
Glacier King is a different one, but I was thinking of the. Look up War Machine. War Machine Mercenaries Blockader.
Oh, this Wayland Games things absolutely does not want us to look at things from their website. So we're gonna go to Amazon. Wait, it's small.
Mhm.
What is that?
Blockader. War Machine Blockader.
Ooh.
Okay, this just got ice on its back, but they painted it
Yeah,
as
the Seeking is
Yeah.
still like
Blockader. Did I spell that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it
Pick
has
one.
two giant fists that it shoots out with chains. It's
Oh,
so
and the
awesome.
chunky, and it's
That is a Bahi
mercenary.
model.
Right.
Yes.
So the mercenaries faction, they can they play in another faction?
Yes. So every mercenary model, or like 99% of them, can be taken in at least one War Machine or Horde's army.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So they're like
so.
a
What's that 1% that cannot?
I believe there are a few models that work exclusively for mercenaries.
What is the name of the doggo?
The bear is Bumbles.
No, no, the doggo that you are
Oh, this
holding.
Queenie.
Hello, Queenie.
Queenie's kind of a bitch.
So small.
All right, tell me what the name of the there. Look at Mechanithrons. Mechanithrons.
John, what's the name? Another of my favorites is what's the name of that unit that looks like a bunch of crucified
Oh, the Rack.
thingies?
WRACK.
Oh, these look like things
Those
I've
are
seen.
basically corpses with machinery to
Oh,
make them
dead
slightly less
servitors.
useless.
What's the Syra no, Colossal? You got it.
Hyperion.
That's my faction. War Machine.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Shoulder pads.
Lulu,
And
are you one of us who painted their Warmahorde's army entirely in a 40k scheme?
Nah, nah.
Okay, so it's
the
me, Esteban, and
blasphemy.
Rian.
But I didn't paint mine stock either. Uh, all the energy on
Is it
my.
purple
Yep.
again?
Of course, it's purple. You know, it's the color I
Okay,
painted. I bought too much of purple paint, so I gotta use it somewhere.
okay. Now show us the racks.
Okay, racks, racks. I know that stuff.
WRACK.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I have a very
Des.
important. I have a very important question about these. Do they have water walk on water action?
No, they do not.
No, they're like awaken my masters.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They're
So
the
like
stripper men.
they're basically just war prisoners of Menoth. Then they can take focus from them, and if they're unlucky, that focus will cause them to blow up.
Yes, it's hilarious.
All right. Well, I think I'm good.
Hi, good. I'm
Thank you
Kesh.
so much, John, for sharing a
Sure.
bit about the three factions and about the game in general. Sorry about the time thing.
No
That's my bad,
worries.
guys. But
We
Kesh,
can,
thanks for
yeah,
helping us out, kicking off the
Yeah.
stream and coming in to close it. Everybody who watched, thank you so much for showing up.
Yes.
Kesh,
Please like and subscribe to all our
uh,
social media, to
can you
Facebook,
do?
YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all there up above. You can see it. We can see it. So you should be liking and subscribing. And if you are subscribing on YouTube, click the little bell thingy so that you get updates. I heard that from YouTubers, so I'm gonna say it too.
Kesh, wala ka bang OnlyFans?
Wala pa, wala pa. Hindi pa
Okay.
ready ang summer body ko.
All right.
Baka si DR.
Oh yeah. All right. So
Yeah, let's wait for Mr. Doctor's OnlyFans. Okay. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be
GG.
having a part two when John is free once again and has a chance to like read through all of the
no
various
memory. It's
word
all from
rules.
memory because I'm not a blasphemer.
Yeah,
But
I
what
think what we can
happens
do.
when there are new things that come out?
Then I get Eric to read it to me.
Yeah, and I'd love to have Eric on the stream.
Yeah,
just to,
for lore
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with the past 2 years. I think
Yep.
they've been releasing a lot of
Yeah,
new lore.
unfortunately, Eric has to be an adult right now, like us.
Yeah, but yeah,
I
looking forward to that. And thanks
yeah.
everybody for showing up.
Yeah,
I
we'll
am
see you
going to
guys
go
next week.
Yakuza.
Yes, go back to what's the name of the
Kakurocho.
district again?
Kakurocho.
Yes.
All right,
All right,
bye guys.
guys. GG.
Nice seeing
All right.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.